Hi, Lucy.
Hi, Lucy.
How are you?
Yeah, fine. Thank you very much. Yeah, like the
Good.
name.
Yeah, two Lucy's. So this morning I'm joined by Lucy Clarke from Wyke Regis Primary Federation, which is in Dorset, lovely Dorset. And we're going to kick off and discuss how Lucy's been using Admissions Plus in a primary setting. So it's a infant school and 3 to year 6, is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. Wyke Regis Primary Federation incorporates a total of about 675 pupils. We're broken down with one head teacher, one governing body, and we have the Wyke Regis Infant School and Nursery, of which we have about 315 pupils. And then that feeds into our CE Junior School, where there's 360 currently. That's our school, Wyke Regis Primary Federation, and we're based in Dorset.
Lovely, quite big school then. Yeah,
certainly is. Yeah, certainly is. Yeah, 675 pupils, pretty large.
Okay, so how did your primary school manage your admissions before you had Admissions Plus?
Okay, well, I know you're in marketing, so I'm not going to do the 5 Ps, but I'm going to do the 3 Ps with a lot of paper, a lot of planning, and a lot of people. So I can't share how from I guess January onwards, to be honest, that's creeping up on us quickly, but from January onwards we're starting to think about the new academic year and actually enrolling and admitting pupils. We start working with county early on, and we start planning photocopying. There's another P, another 4th P. So we start photocopying numerous bits of paper, which was our traditional admission form. A lot of work went into this. A lot of people and time and effort and energy was put into just basically the preparation work for this paper world that we seem to have in our office. So we decided that this was just too much. It was very difficult to try and grasp the content of lots of bits of paper coming to our office, which happened obviously once a parent had received the admission form and then returned it to us. And then we needed to obviously disseminate and dissect data from all of this paper. So we managed our primary admissions process before Admissions Plus with a lot of paper lying around, and it was organised. But it took a lot of time to kind of go through all the detail that was being returned to us.
Yes, and it's quite hard sometimes to read the paper forms, isn't it?
Yeah, our admission form is about 6 pages long, and then there were some inserts as well. So nice. When a parent would return that to us, we would obviously go through it all and have to obviously input a lot of data into our MIS system in a pre-admission group, which we also had to set up, which was again very labour intensive within our MIS.
Yes.
Well, the other little bit that was a challenge was trying to interpret people's writing on the admissions forms. So if somebody wrote a digit and we interpreted like an L as a number 1, then an email address could be incorrect, and that would then cause problems further down the line.
Yeah, then you have the wrong data. Okay, so obviously at primary level you do receive some information from the local authority. Could you just explain how that didn't cover all of the data that you needed?
Okay, well, as you'll be aware, obviously when a parent applies to the local authority, they provide skeletal information. They do provide obviously the child's key details, date of birth and full name, and they provide obviously parental responsibility and contact. Yeah. But there's a lot of detail missing, like medical details, dietary information. All this key data is information we need in advance of a pupil joining our setting. We need this so that we can plan and prepare and make sure that teachers are fully aware of every need that every child joining us has. So Admissions Plus allows us basically to gather a lot of this information before a child joins, and it allows us to build on the data that the local authority have provided us, which is great, but it is skeletal. Information like pupil premium data, for example. I've always had it as my goal in the last sort of 6-7 years to capture this data before a child joins our school. We tried to do this on our paper-based form. It was there, But then in terms of having the time to analyse that data and then actually reach out to those parents and get them to physically apply for pupil premium in advance of joining, as well as complete the administrative process of a child enrolling in our school, was always a challenge. But Admissions Plus has certainly helped us move this forward. And it meant that we actually were able to distribute free school meal uniform vouchers to children in advance of them physically joining our school. So real benefit to parents, and real benefit obviously to our federation community and students.
Yeah. No, that's great, because then you're getting a sort of 360 picture of a student before they even arrive, aren't you? And you can see if they need additional support, if they've got specific needs. So yeah, I can see how that's very helpful. So I guess
Lucy, on that, sorry, not to butt in again, but on that, you know, special educational needs data, you know, that's key as well. Through our process now with Admissions Plus, we're able to glean this key information, like in a lot more detail than the local authority are able to provide. So it allows us to, as we said, plan and prepare and reduce the amount of paper and people.
Yeah. Okay, so you've probably answered this because you've painted a really clear picture there. But what led you as a school to actually then start to look for a new solution? What was the sort of main driver?
Okay, main driver was that we just needed, as a federation, to look more professional. We needed to become, I think, more efficient with our time. Now, in the light of obviously COVID-19, we also wanted to look to deliver a paperless, contactless sort of system within our admissions process. We needed to move forward. I think the local authority a few years ago digitized their admissions process online, and over the last sort of 3 or 4 years I've been talking to them about ways that we can become more efficient as a school to mirror what they had done in the local authority.
Right.
So we needed to look for a new solution in order to improve our processes, remove manual input errors, which you often wouldn't pick up until a child had enrolled with us, and then hadn't necessarily received an important communication. And we needed to be able to I guess, reduce the burden on the offices, because the burden on an office, particularly in between May and July, is massive. And we needed to look at a way to automate, I think, and reduce burden that could become digitized. And that has really worked effectively, because I have to say that there's 3 of us in one of our offices. We have 2 offices in the Federation, but there's 3 of us in the infant school office. And I've been able to manage pretty much the whole process on my own in this last academic year through working with Admissions Plus.
Okay, so that's a significant change. So could you just briefly outline how you use Admissions Plus now in your school then? Obviously it's for the admissions side of it, but how in practice has that sort of assisted you and helps with the parents as well?
Okay, well I kind of break it down in a sort of calendar year. So in January, what I'm going to start doing, what I did last year, is started to review our digital admissions form with Admissions Plus. So I know you're fantastic and provide some wonderful support via your customer services team and technical team. And I've got another Lucy that I work with, who's my customer account manager. And she's already been in contact. So we've already started to think about what I'm going to need to set up the back end, so to speak, of Admissions Plus. So right now I'm reviewing our digital admissions form, our welcome letter. I'm making sure that my email templates within Admissions Plus are as I want them to be. And I've targeted myself to have that bit of work completed by the end of January, so that I'm ready to start working, first of all, on nursery admissions, which is one of our areas within the school that needed some focus with regards to the admissions side of things. So the nursery side of things, we are a maintained nursery. We have a maintained nursery in our school, but we have about 45 children that are enrolling into that nursery every academic year. Now, they don't come via the local authority. These parents and pupils come direct to us. So I had a challenge on my hands when I took on this role, because I needed to think about a solution to improve the way that we enroll our nursery students. So what I was then able to do was actually refine our admissions form to include data for nursery. And from January onwards, having sorted out our admissions form, I was then starting to target my nursery parents and work within the Admissions Plus system to start enrolling and getting admission forms completed and sent out to our nursery cohort, which then meant by April, when the local authority give out offers to new reception children, I was then ready to start working with Admissions Plus to start enrolling and working on admissions paperwork with the reception cohort, which was about 90 children. So I guess I'd broken it down, and Admissions Plus allowed me to break things down. I did 45 new nursery children from January through to April, and then April through to June, July, I was able to kind of manage the new reception cohort.
Right.
Yeah, so another little bit I wanted to mention on that is an extra challenge that I think I put to your team at the time was how to manage the fact that this reception cohort of 90 children that was joining our school in that September included potentially up to 45 children who were already in our management information system because they were currently attending our in-school maintained nursery. So what I didn't want to happen with Admissions Plus was me ending up having duplicate information within my MIS system. What I'd realised was happening before I took on this role within my school in terms of managing admissions across the Federation was there was a very laborious exercise would happen, and it would happen on admission to the school in September, which is a real pressure point in schools. And we would have to check cross matches between children that had come in on an ATF from the local authority that were joining reception and children that were currently registered in our school and enrolled with a UPN, who I didn't want to duplicate that information. So by actually taking the ATF, which arrived from the local authority in April, and not putting it into SIMS, my management information system, meant that I was working in a standalone system for all pupils, and I was able to weed out the children that I didn't need the data for because that was already in my management information system. And then I was able to keep a hold of 45 children in Admissions Plus that were new to us, work on that data, make sure that data was accurate and correct, and then it would transfer across to our MIS in September in a nice, smooth way without the need for this laborious data check, which happened at that pressured time in September.
Okay, so obviously your MIS is SIMS, and so you're using our app to transfer your data over?
Yes, yeah, I am. The SIMS app's fantastic because the SIMS app allows you to select what data you want to transfer. The SIMS app drives on the pupil admission number, which means obviously that you've got or the child's date of birth, and that data can then transfer across into SIMS. One thing I was concerned about was obviously the duplication of data in SIMS, or whether something would be deleted if I'd input some data into SIMS, and that doesn't happen. Most recent data is transferred, nothing is deleted. And I had some great help from Anthony, who up in your head office, and albeit he is the guru behind your system, he was still on the ground to help me with all my questioning.
Very good. So overall, that's a very clear picture of how it's helped you. And are you also using it for the parental communications as well? So emailing the parents and keeping in touch with them throughout the journey.
Yeah, well, the journey was made so much simpler by Admissions Plus this year. In the past, you would be setting up separate email groups within our separate email system. And we'd be setting up separate text groups within our email system, all of which obviously takes time. However, with Admissions Plus, as soon as I got data in there, whether it was from the local authority or whether it was from the pre-admission group set up in SIMS for the new nursery cohort, that data was basically there for me to scrutinise and use and communicate with parents. So I was able to send reminders to parents who hadn't completed their application form, their admission form. I was able to do that so simply, rather than having to look through either Excel sheets that I'd have to have created to keep a track and a log of which parents had actually returned their admission forms. I was able to simply go to Admissions Plus, do a search on who had not returned their admission form, and then literally click a box beside their name and send them a reminder to please complete their admission form. It hadn't come in yet, or send them a little message saying, you've got any problems with uploading your birth certificate, please contact the school office. It made communicating with parents so much simpler, and I was able to manage it in a very easy and remote way, because my role is cross-site. I work at the junior school and I work at the infant school and nursery. So if it was a day that I happened to be working at the junior school, but yet I still had an action that I needed to complete for the infant school, nursery and admissions, I was able to quite easily remote in and sort things out. And the process was not hindered by the fact that I was not physically on site on the day.
Okay. Yeah, and especially in primary settings, the parents are obviously younger, so they've grown up with digital, and they probably don't expect to fill in paper forms, because everything else works in a digital way, whether it's shopping or signing up to join a gym or whatever it might be. They're used to those kind of solutions anyway, aren't they? So yeah, I
think everybody's become touchscreen happy, haven't we? We've all entered into this digital world, and I'm getting older, but some of the parents I'm engaging with are younger than I, and they've grown up in this digital world, and actually completing a 6-7 page admission form is not what they want. They want to be able to sit at home, maybe even on their sofa, with their mobile phone in front of them, their iPad, their laptop, and they just want to be able to simply tick boxes and type, and they can do that very quickly. They don't want to have to go in and get a bit of paper, sit at a table and get a pen out and start completing a long-winded
long form, and then have to go and find a stamp and an envelope.
Absolutely. I did a big cost benefit analysis actually for my head teacher before we embarked on Admissions Plus, because obviously with anything there's an expense, albeit the cost benefit analysis I completed for my head teacher showed that actually it was far more cost efficient to be working with Admissions Plus than it was actually using traditional methods where you had to buy in photocopying paper, you had to put stamps on envelopes.
Yes, exactly.
You had to cost in the extra time it took people to help with the process. So the overall cost benefit analysis I did before we actually engaged in Admissions Plus that I presented did actually prove an overall cost saving to the school. And I know school budgets are so important, particularly at the moment. And actually the analysis showed that the costs were a significant saving to the school.
Okay. No, that's fantastic. Lucy, you've painted such a great picture for primary schools, and thank you so much for giving us your insights and explaining how you use it. It's really interesting. So thank you so much for giving up your time this morning to talk to us.
I'd like to also just say thank you to Admissions Plus, because you have some fantastic people working for you. I mean, Inna, and your customer service team, she was remarkable with me last year because it was all new to me, and whenever I'd phone she would be there, and she would go, "Hi Lucy," and she would be able to remote in or help me. Your team were there every step of the way, and as I mentioned before, Anthony and James, very senior people within your organization, they were there for me when I needed them, and if I had a deadline, they made themselves available. And I really couldn't speak highly enough about Admissions Plus and about your team, because really you have all been fantastic, and thank you.
No, thank you very much. That's very kind of you to say. Thank you.
Thanks, Lucy. Thank you.